Hey there, have you ever looked at a complex electrical diagram and just felt completely lost? If so, you're in the right place. We're going to break down Kirchhoff's laws, two of the most important rules in all of electronics. Let's get into it.
I mean, you see a circuit like this one, right? It's a tangled web with multiple batteries, resistors all over the place, and suddenly, simple rules like Ohm's law just don't cut it anymore. So how on earth are you supposed to figure out what's actually happening inside? Yeah, for these really intricate circuits, the ones with a bunch of different power sources and all these branching paths, we need something more powerful. We need a totally new set of tools.
And that toolkit, well, it comes to us from a 19th century physicist named Gustav Kirchhoff. He came up with a couple of foundational rules that just slice right through all that complexity and make analyzing circuits surprisingly simple.
And what's so brilliant is that his entire system really just boils down to two rules. That's it. You've got the junction rule, which is all about current, and the loop rule, which handles voltage and energy. And with those two, you can solve almost anything. So let's start with that first one, the junction rule. The best way to think about this is it's the law of traffic control for electricity. It tells us exactly what happens when current gets to an intersection in the circuit.
So, what exactly is a junction? Well, in any circuit, it's just a point where three or more wires come together. It's basically a crossroads. Or, think about water flowing through pipes. A junction is just where several pipes connect into one point. And, you'll also hear a junction called a node. So you might see this rule referred to as the law of nodes. It's just another way of saying the exact same thing, that central point where electricity has to either split up or come back together. The physical principle behind this is so simple and honestly so elegant, it's the conservation of charge. You can't just create electric charge out of thin air, and you can't destroy it. That means whatever amount of current flows into a junction has to be the exact same amount that flows back out. What goes in must come out. And actually using this rule is super easy. First, you just add up all the currents flowing into the junction, then you add up all the currents flowing out. And because of that conservation law, those two numbers have to be exactly equal. It's a perfect balance every single time.
Okay, so that brings us to the second law, the loop rule. Now, if the junction rule was about the flow of traffic, the loop rule is all about the energy of a single journey, a journey that starts and ends in the exact same spot.
So a loop, what is that? It's literally any closed path you can trace in a circuit. You pick a starting point, follow the wires, and you end up right back where you began, making a full circle. It's like going for a hike and ending up back at your car. That's a loop. And the key idea here, the one that you really gotta get, is the loop. It's all about these complete, closed journeys inside the circuit. Everything has to come full circle. The loop, the loop, the loop, it's everything. And just like our first rule, this one is also based on a huge fundamental idea, the conservation of energy. Think about that hike again. You might go up a huge hill and then back down into a valley, but when you get back to your car, you're at the exact same elevation you started at. The net change is zero. It's the same in a circuit. The total electrical energy you gain from batteries has to be perfectly balanced by the energy you lose in components. A perfect way to think about this is like an energy balance sheet. The voltage from things like batteries, those are your energy gains. Then components like resistors, they use up energy, causing voltage drops. Those are your losses. And in any complete loop, the books have to balance. The gains and losses always cancel each other out for a net change of zero. So there we have it. That's our complete toolkit. We have a rule for how the current flows, and we have a rule for how the energy is balanced. Now we're finally ready to go back and tackle that problem from the beginning.
So remember this monster, this tangled mess that at the beginning looked pretty much impossible to solve. It was just an intimidating puzzle with no obvious way in.
But now, look at it again. When you see it through the lens of Kirchhoff's laws, it's not a mess anymore, is it? It's just a collection of junctions and loops. It's a puzzle we now have the exact keys to unlock. It's totally solvable. So this is what you should take away. This is your toolkit now. It has two essential instruments, the junction rule to keep track of the current and the loop rule to balance the energy. And with just these two ideas, you can systematically take apart and solve almost any circuit puzzle you'll ever find. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Kirchhoff's laws are amazing for electronics, for sure, but they're really just expressions of a much bigger idea, conservation. The idea that nothing is ever truly created or destroyed, it's just moved around and accounted for. So think about it. Where else in your daily life do you see that fundamental principle of balance at play?